50 men arrested after the most recent religious confrontation, when police and military faced off against Muslims holed up in a local mosque. But this is not Afghanistan or Pakistan. This is the Maldives, an idyllic escape. I'm Taimur Nabili, and on this edition of 101 East we ask, is there an Islamic storm brewing in paradise? On the 29th of September, just outside the National Museum of the Maldives, a crude bomb injured 12 tourists. The government first blamed pro-democracy activists, then an NGO, before finally fixing its attention on Islamic radicals. Now, the Maldives is an Islamic nation, but up until now, it's been best known as a paradise destination for honeymooning couples. Chantao Cho reports.
The Maldives, famous for beautiful waters and luxury resorts. With more than 1,000 islands forming 26 atolls in the Indian Ocean, the Muslim country is also rich in folklore. Legend has it that more than 800 years ago, an evil spirit came from the sea every month to demand the sacrifice of a virgin in its temple. On one such day, a pious man took the place of a girl to be offered. He recited the Quran as the demon approached. Hearing him, it retreated back to the sea. The men went on to subdue it. In celebration, the king embraced Islam and instructed his people to do the same. Today, the Maldives face the threat of a society fractured along religious lines. This CCTV footage was captured in late September this year. 12 tourists were injured in the blast. Authorities called those responsible for the bombing Islamic extremists, influenced by different schools of the religion taught in other countries.
If you look at our history, I think all our scholars, especially religious scholars, they went to the same schools to get educated. So we were able to live our lives in a uniform way. It's only when the schools diversified that we had to, different schools of thought came in. That is what breeds all this terrorism and all the antisocial behavior in people.
The blast was a rare attack on tourism, which drives the country's $1 billion economy. Investigations took the police to Himandu, a little island west of Malé, 2 hours by fast boat. What followed was a tense 40-hour standoff between members of the Darul Khair Mosque and the authorities.
Till now, we have not attacked anyone. But if the mosque is to be broken, they will have to break us first, because we love and respect the mosque.
And break them they did. The military shut down the illegal makeshift mosque. About 60 men and teenage boys were arrested. More than 30 policemen were injured, including one whose hand was severed by a sword.
They believe they are the only ones practicing Islam the right way. Others are not. That is why we are divided. They don't want to pray in our mosque. They used to, for a long time. But now they say it's not good. They have all kinds of excuses.
One woman, whose husband and 5 sons were arrested during the clash, spoke on the condition that we protect her identity.
We started praying in our own mosque because we weren't allowed to pray according to our way. They interrupted our rituals by trying to change the position of our arms. They will put things in my open hands when I pray, and when we were reading the Quran, they would switch off the lights. Until they start praying our way, I don't want anything to do with them.
Back on Malé, the events appeared to have heightened religious sensitivities. These men walking past the explosion site were clearly concerned that their beards, a sign of religiosity to them, would mean something else to others.
Now, this is the exploded area. If anyone is having a beard, you are just focusing on it.
Dr. Maruf Hussain is the vice president of opposition party Adalat, made up mostly of Islamic scholars. He believes the social divide can be narrowed by introducing a stronger religious education system.
Since there is no proper Islamic education here, there's a vacuum. People are really hungry for their religion. Most of these people have probably taken their knowledge from the internet, and this caused them to adopt extreme views.
Other than being famous as a world-class holiday destination for the rich, Maldives also has a wealth of fish stock. But the potential for prosperity hasn't manifested on its people, many of whom continue to struggle with poverty while living in a congested environment.
They cannot really see and touch the earnings that come from foreign exchange directly. They don't feel that they have anything to lose from that. It is easier for them to take these extreme views. We all accept that we are Muslims, but the faith is inside rather than outside. So let's not judge everybody from what they are seeing and try to bring about more tolerance in people and teach people that extremism doesn't really produce results.
Among the population of about 370,000 people, half are living in poverty. Nearly 100,000 are packed into Malé alone, an island that takes less than half an hour to walk across.
In the past, because of infrastructure issues, I think tourism has grown in concentrated regions. So that is why the benefits of tourism has not been widely distributed. The government realized this about a couple of years ago, and a major decision was made that we would spread tourism to the other islands. And I think this is going to have a major impact on wealth distribution.
It doesn't filter down. Either it is pocketed by those in power or just wasted.
Today, the Maldives face a different demon to the one in the legend of 800 years ago. This time, it is spawned from differences over the application of an age-old religion in a fast-changing world.
For this edition of 101 East, we've come to Malé, the capital of the Maldives, to speak to several prominent Maldivians about their take on the recent events. The Information Minister, Mohammed Nasheed, says the government is introducing new measures to curb the inflow of what it calls radical Islam into the country. The chairman of the main opposition party, the Maldivian Democratic Party, is also Mohammed Nasheed. He says President Gayoom must shoulder much of the blame for the recent violence. And Umar Naseer is the chairman of the Islamic Democratic Party. He warns that the recent bombing is just the tip of the iceberg. Thank you all for joining us today. Gentlemen, there is a sense of paranoia in the air the world over, and there does seem to be, in the minds of many, a feeling that the Maldives is now being swept up in a tide of increasing religious extremism. Mohammed Nasheed, is that what is going on in the Maldives, or is there a political, a democratic element involved in the incidents of recent months?
Well, I think there is a little bit of both of it. There, of course, is a more radicalization in the sense of Islamic, a group of people in this country voting to revert back to the fundamentals of Islam. For the last 30 years, this country has been run very ruthlessly by a dictatorship that has many colorings of a theocracy. And they have based their politicking very much upon religion and using Islam as a tool.
Umar Naseer, let me come to you. In your mind, is there not enough Islam in the democracy of the Maldives or in the political structure of the Maldives to satisfy the local religious needs?
There is. There's no doubt about that. But the radicalism that we see at the moment is not being generated in the Maldives. This is a wave that is passing through the world right now. There's a rebirth of religion at the moment throughout the world, not only in Islam, both in Judaism and in Christianity, there's a rebirth. So people go back to the fundamentals. So this is a wave that is going through the world, and we are not going to be spared. This is the effect that we are seeing right now in Maldives.
Minister, so there we have a situation. There is Islam here. By and large, it's been a moderate and peaceful Islamic nation. The injection of radical elements would appear to be causing some problems, and yet the government's reaction is to try and stamp down on any further expression. Are you not taking completely the wrong approach to tackling what's going on?
I don't think the government is going to implement such a harsh attitude or reaction towards this.
But they've already banned the use of the veil entirely. They're coming up with what seem to be some fairly extreme measures.
There are three different types of measures that the government are taking: the long term, the medium term, and the very immediate. One of the immediate things is to eliminate any form of security threats that could be to the peaceful nature of this country. And we have seen evidence to suggest that people have been using the veil to also commit other forms of activities which are criminal in nature.
What is the problem for the government if a particular mosque or a particular island or a particular community wants to practice Islam in their own way? Why is that an issue?
It is a serious threat to the cohesive nature of Islam that we have had in this country for a moderate, liberal view of Islam.
Let me put that to Naseer. Is it a threat to the development of Islam?
It is a threat. What we have to do is we have to have a way of Islam that is practiced throughout the Maldives. We should not have extreme ends. We should not allow people to build their own mosques without a government license. We should control all this. My problem with the present government is that it doesn't have sufficient firmness. It doesn't have sufficient firmness. This is why we are losing. We are losing on drug and crime. We are losing on religious extremism. Corruption is so much like...
So you're advocating, again, more authoritarianism and more strict Islam?
I'm not talking about authoritarianism. What I'm talking about is, if you are a leader and if you are leading a country, you must have sufficient firmness. Napoleon said, when you have sufficient firmness, rashness is not necessary. That's what I'm saying. You have to have sufficient firmness if you are running a
this is an intriguing...
I'm certainly sorry, it's exactly how the Islamic Democratic Party sees things. That more suppression...
And it seems the government.
And the government as well. But government
I would say there's a slight difference here.
The government perhaps now, they come out and the government defines their own actions as democracy somewhere there. But the Islamic Democratic Party, of course, doesn't. But we have not seen any country, any society come out of these situations simply by suppression. I can't see how oneness in everything can, get us out of this problem of Islamic fundamentalism. That's really not the solution.
Is not one of the major divisions within the Islamic community the world over, this very point that you're making, is that you have a number of people, all of whom advocate for one and one only interpretation of the book, but none of them can agree which one. Isn't that one of the problems?
We agree. The Maldives do agree. We have been agreeing for the past 400 years.
No, we have
Why
not.
can't we agree right now?
I'm not talking about the reason why people of Hindu wants to pray in another manner is a simple manifestation that we do not agree.
I think we should put it in a different context. Maldives is best served, its interests are best served when it remains a moderate, liberal Muslim nation. And it must engage with the international community. It must have a democratic, transparent environment for everybody to prosper. Anything that is offensive to this, anything that is a threat to this particular setup must be dealt with seriously.
And that's a good place to take a short break. Let me take a short break. We'll come back in just a couple of minutes with more on the political situation in the Maldives. Do stay with us. We'll be back very shortly.